All right, welcome back to All Sports BPT. You're with two of the members. I'm Ben, and this is Phil joining us. No Tolly today. We told him to get out of here because we're talking volleyball today. Yeah, no hockey, just volleyball today.
I mean, you always take shots at hockey, and I don't know,
Uh,
man. I don't understand why. I mean, listen, hockey's irrelevant.
it is. It is. Someone was talking on Monday Night Football, and they were like, "Yeah, why does hockey have such a short season?" Someone was like, "Yeah, because no one cares about hockey." So we're just gonna go with the flow here, but we have a big day, and we got two great guests joining us today. We have Alyssa DeRico, associate head coach from Dayton and former national champ at Penn State and former pro volleyball player. And after our interview is done with her, we'll be having editor of Off the Block, Vinnie Lopes. He covers men's volleyball and has been doing so for this website since 2011. So going on 10 years now of volleyball coverage for Vinnie. So it's going to be a good day. What do you think about all this, Phil?
I'm always excited to talk volleyball. To have people that have been a part of some of the biggest institutions around volleyball, especially in the United States. Alyssa going through Penn State, winning, at almost a national championship for every finger on her hand, and then going over and playing pro, and then having someone from the men's game who's been really helping and pushing to grow the game, at least in college volleyball across the country, and it's just nice to have two people that are just really important people in the community that are able to join us. I know we are all sports BPT, but I mean, right now I think we're volleyball BP for tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, it is special for Vinnie. I came up playing college volleyball, and when I heard about Off the Block, I was like, wait, there's just a Twitter page that follows men's volleyball and actually does a good job. Like, they're reporting on everything. And, we were just checking out the website not too long ago, and they have quite the group that compiles all the games and stuff and puts out articles for the website itself. And, it's now being nationally recognized. And Vinnie himself has gained a lot of acclaim in the volleyball world. You don't hear too often someone who's never played volleyball having this love for the sport.
Right.
And he's out here like he's been playing since he was, 5 years old, which I think that's incredible. And I think that's the kind of growth that men's volleyball needs to start getting people excited. The volleyball people love volleyball, and it's a very
Right.
strong community. But when we start getting fans that have never played before, I think that's where you start to see the growth.
Yeah, and I agree completely. And all small sports need to have this kind of this migration of fans from other sports that maybe have never really participated, but finally got to watch a game in person or got to watch a game on TV and really felt the excitement and the energy. And that's really how you grow a game, is if you can get casual sports fans to enjoy the product that you're putting out on the court, then you're going to get more participation. That's just how it works. So it's just an exciting time that we have people that haven't even played that are willing to dedicate their lives to the sport. And it's just, I'm excited. I'm very excited to talk to him. I'm excited to talk to Alyssa as well. Just pick her brain about playing and coaching and dealing with COVID and everything like that. So it's an exciting show.
Yeah, I can't wait either. My dad used to do volleyball camps in Altoona, Pennsylvania, and we had, I don't know how he pulled it off, but he managed to get the Penn State women for years to come down and do a camp. And that's the first time I ever met Alyssa. Now that was 10 plus years ago now. So at the time she was towering over me. And she was pretty tall for a libero. And boy, I never thought I'd see girls that much bigger than my dad. But there they were, just towering over me. And as we're talking about that, we are joined now by Alyssa DeRico.
Hi, Ben.
Hey there, Alyssa. How are you doing? This is Phil joining you as well.
Hey, how's it going? How are you?
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay,
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us. It's great to have you on here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited to be here with you guys.
So first of all, I just wanted to thank you for coming on. But how's everything going with like the coronavirus? I know this is taking a toll on everyone, and I know college sports is dealing with it the same way. How is Dayton and like everyone on your staff and team really dealing with everything going on right now?
Yeah, I think thankfully we're hanging in there. We have a lot of different support mechanisms in place within the Dayton Athletic Department that they've been awesome at supporting the student athletes through all of this. We went through a little 3-week hiccup at the beginning of the semester that campus kind of got shut down, and it was basically a shelter in place on campus, that there was no gathering outside of your housing setup. So no student organization gathering, no class gatherings, and 3 weeks of it was pretty tough for obviously student athletes that are used to pretty busy schedules and being out and about. But other than that, I think they had some great support systems in place of outdoor activities. Thankfully, it was early in the semester, so there's still warm weather. We were able to get out and do some stuff. They were able to do some grass volleyball on our soccer fields. So there was really a great sense of community and camaraderie within, the university as a whole of trying to keep everybody happy, positive, thankful for at least having the opportunity to be on campus in some way, shape, or form for the semester.
Yeah, I know that's been a struggle with every school out there. I can't imagine like these D1 schools with all these players and all these teams that have to try and deal with it, and the amount of effort that it would have to take just to make sure everyone's okay on a campus of that size.
Yeah, it's we've had a lot of moving parts for sure, but I think the one thing that people always say about Dayton, and we're pretty thankful, especially during times like this, is there really is a sense of community, from the academic side to the athletic side to the administration. I think overall there's for us being a medium to bigger size school, I think it doesn't feel that way when we're going through stuff like this. There's not really the separation of athletics and academics and all the different parts. It's pretty unified, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I actually kind of saw that community come around when Obi Toppin was drafted, and he had to represent Dayton and everything like that.
Oh yeah, it was a highly awaited event. I think especially after last year for the guys team, probably being a #1 overall seed potentially in the NCAA tournament, and getting the A10 conference tournament taken away from them and NCAA tournament with such a historic season. I think the fans, really there is that undying support for teams here, and to have such a Cinderella season like that come short, it was definitely the most highly awaited event that kind of was a bright spot after having a lot taken away from the community. But for sure it was pretty funny. I was following along with the Twitter sphere for the night, and the amount of times that people said Dayton University, and our fans got so mad. I was cracking up a little bit, from the commissioner to even the Knicks posted something that was like, Obi Toppin will be #1 representing Dayton University, and the fans were like, get it right, people. It was pretty funny.
That's good. That's good to hear. Now, I'm pretty sure your season was postponed, correct?
Yes,
Will-
we are playing this spring.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I understand. I understand that. I'm an assistant coach for a men's and women's team, so we have to do both of those in the spring now. So definitely dealing with all those repercussions right now.
For sure, for sure. And especially the spring sports not having their spring season last year. It's tough to put fall and spring sports together when obviously they've already had, a year lost. So we're hoping that everything can fire at the same time with a lot of different hoops and hurdles to go through to make it work.
Yeah, let's just hope these vaccines that are coming out right now are able to alleviate a lot of the problems that Corona has brought on us.
For sure.
But so I did want to ask, so you played under one of the best college volleyball coaches of all time in Russ Rose at Penn State. Have you taken anything from your time under him that has really affected your coaching style or anything like that? Because I've heard that Russ was a pretty tough cookie whenever he coached you guys. So is that something that you take in bits and pieces and try and put into your own coaching style?
For sure. I think two things. Anybody that played or coached with Russ would be stupid to not take some of the things that, he has found success with into their future endeavors, whether it's coaching, the business world, life, a mom. I think he really is great at developing, great people that understand how to be a great citizen, a great teammate, a great friend, a great family member. So I think that there's a million things that you could take from being around him for, 10 minutes. I do think you can't mimic him. There's not very many people that can be the exact Russ Rose and A, get away with it, or B, be successful at it. I think he is his own person, own thing, own entity. Like he's created, obviously one of the most storied winning programs from the ground up. Hearing stories from the beginning days of when he started as the head coach there, and he had to tape lines down and do laundry and drive the bus and do all the things that now are unimaginable to think of as a head coach at the Division I level. So I think there's a lot of things to take away for sure. The toughness, the grit, the competitiveness are things that I innately have in me as a player, and I want to have in me as a coach, and try and draw out of players that I coach and recruit. So I think that's probably the biggest one. I think beyond that, just trying to act with character and integrity. I think our game has evolved and has started to become so competitive financially, so competitive in terms of jobs and expectations, and I think with that there often are changes in how people act ethically and morally, and I think he has done it at a really high level and is very widely regarded at doing it the right way, in terms of how he treats other coaches, how he recruits, all of those things. So I think that's something that I can appreciate even more so now, being on the coaching side of it, of what I want my reputation in the coaching world to be, and how I want to be known and hopefully respected among peers in the Division I world.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's knowing that you came from a program that Russ Rose runs. I'm sure that's people kind of have high expectations for how you're going to carry yourself and around your peers, and what to expect from a player that's been through Russ Rose's I hate to call it a gauntlet, but everyone kind of hears stories about it's not easy, but by the end of it you start to realize wow, like all of this was for something, you know, all this hard work, you know, all this, the little stresses that we had to go through and everything were
For
worth
sure.
it. And then my follow up to that is, then when you made that next step to play overseas, what were some things that maybe Coach Rose told you, or that you picked up as you made your way over to Europe to play?
I think probably the two biggest things for me is just, you know, your sense of ownership. I think that's something that we were taught, like, and it was the littlest things, like when I was playing, the Big Ten Network had just started. So we had the opportunity to watch, you know, midweek matches on Wednesdays, and then occasionally a rerun replay on like a Sunday from a Saturday or Friday night game. It's not quite what it is now that there's a million live streaming games, but we would come into practice on a Thursday and he'd be like, "Hey, who watched Wisconsin, Minnesota last night on Big Ten Network?" And there would be like, you know, 20% of us that would raise our hands. Like, I mean, we got homework, we have other stuff going on. We would raise our hands and he'd be like, "All right, well, we're playing them in 2 weeks. So who's going to be ready to play them? Because I watched it. I know who we need to play and defend." And obviously, you know, you have access to it because Big Ten Network was in all of our dorms, he knows we all have TVs, like, but I think just that ownership of the amount of prep and control you really have over your own destiny was something that, you know, I had to take advantage of overseas. There's fewer resources in terms of the pro teams in some cases than what some Division I schools here have. And obviously playing, you know, at one of the top Division I schools, the resources we had versus some of the pro teams I played on were for sure greater. So in terms of owning my own, you know, destiny, and I remember trying to find ways to log in and watch games on, you know, VPN and things like. But I found ways to own my own self and be able to watch and scout and prepare and do what I could, doing extra workouts, things like that. And then I think the other thing is just the work ethic piece. It's a job. So at the end of the day, like, your impression that you leave and the work that you put in is going to get you the results that you want. And I think oftentimes I was there for the fun and the adventure for sure.
Yeah.
Like, don't get me wrong, I wanted to adventure around Europe and enjoy post college, but I also wanted to keep my job and make some money. So I knew that there was a certain level of work ethic that it was going to take in order to maintain playing at a high enough level, and obviously try and move up the ranks too, and play in some better leagues season after season and things like that. So I think, you know, it's oftentimes just like looked at as this fun adventure, but there's a lot of adversity and obstacles and things that you have to get through. And I think the strong work ethic that, you know, we were taught at Penn State helps tackle that for sure.
I think that strong work ethic came a long time before Penn State, though, for you. Three-time high school state champion, and then you went on to win 4 national titles with Penn State. Just take us a little bit through that winning attitude. That, I mean, you came from a culture that was purely winning. You were a part of the time of 109 straight matches where you were winning. What are you able to kind of, because you don't want to, as a coach, like, keep going back to your time at Penn State, but how do you kind of like sneakily put that experience that you've had through there and kind of put that on your players?
For sure. It's kind of funny. I don't love talking about my time in terms of the national championships and winning, because one of the things that I always was taught growing up is humility and how to be humble. And I get really uncomfortable like talking about you know, the winning streak and how much I won, and it just feels like bragging sometimes. And volleyball is not an individual sport; it's a team sport. It takes a lot to put all those wins together, both, you know, club, college, high school, professionally, everything. It can never be a one-man show in our sport. So I get very uncomfortable. So it kind of is a good thing. I don't bring it up a lot. I think because of my sense of humility, my kids know that I coach, and they know when I bring something up or I refer to something, I don't do it super often. So when I do, I think they take it, very, very heavily and to heart, and they're like, okay, like she said that, she meant it. I also think my resume and my connection to the volleyball world. My mom is very connected. My dad still coaches. My sister coaches. I've grown up in that community, so I'm connected enough that my resume kind of precedes me in some ways that I don't have to talk about it, which makes it a lot easier for me. And then people are, not instantly, but most of the time they want to hear what I have to say. So I think the work that I put in my playing career has earned me some, not instant, but some off the bat, like respect factor, that people are willing to listen to what I have to say. I will say, thankfully, the winning mentality, the competitiveness, it comes from my sister. So my sister is 2 years older than me. When I was younger, she was a really successful gymnast, way stronger than me, way faster, could jump higher, was better at everything, every sport that we did. And I was just a scrawny, like string bean that would get my butt kicked all the time. And I was an instigator. So I would instigate and I would like push her and do stuff. And then she would just absolutely demolish me. So the competitiveness, we were competing, and I always was second best, and felt like I had to, outwork, out scrap, out hustle in order to beat her. So it kind of was something that I did from when I was a kid. Eventually she stopped growing. She's a gymnast. She's like 5'3", 5'4". I kept growing. I got stronger. I filled out, and then I started to beat her at some stuff. But we were always super competitive, always, outside in the driveway playing games and trying to win and outdo each other all the time. So I think that's probably where it came from. Both of my parents are coaches, so I think they also probably poked that fire a little bit and kept trying to get us to compete in different stuff and try different things. But it definitely was something that was ingrained in me from when I was pretty young.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't mean to bring up all the Penn State stuff. I just
you're
know
good.
it's it comes with the resume. I mean, I remember watching you and your whole team growing up, and frankly, you emasculated my dad to me because all of you came in and you were taller than him. So it was funny seeing that and really gaining respect for women's volleyball at that time, because that was really the only volleyball I was able to watch back then, was this women's volleyball with an occasional like men's match for their national championship. But there has to be something said for the success that your Penn State alumni have had. You have quite a few playing overseas professionally, and now a lot of them are entering the coaching world. I know Ariel Wilson is in the coaching world now. Blair Brown was in it for a while. Dom Gonzalez is at Michigan State. I mean, Russ Rose and his Penn State group are really starting to just make their way all over the world. I mean, what do you think about all of that?
Two things. I think it says something about his ability to keep, the passion for the game in his players. I think at one point, Kristen Carpenter was at Maryland. Darcy Dorton is at Eastern Michigan as a head coach. Blair, myself, Ariel, Megan Shiflett was at Towson. She was at Navy. Like, there's a lot of us in coaching. And the cool thing for us is out on the road recruiting. It's like alumni weekend. We get to like see each other, grab dinner, go, grab some drinks, watch volleyball. Like we're around each other a lot, which is, something that I enjoy. I wouldn't see them if I was in coaching and they weren't. I wouldn't see them as much as I do now. But I think, his ability to find the balance of pushing his players to become, their best version in their 4 years. And everybody knows he pushes his players. Like that is a well-known thing, that he's tough to play for and he pushes his players. But find the balance of doing that and still having them leave college with a passion for the game, to want to go play or to want to coach or to want to give back to that next generation of players, is something that I think is really, really tough to do nowadays. You know, the coaches that push their kids too hard and they end up hating the sport or resenting it, versus the ones that, you know, are too soft, too fun, and those kids really never find out, you know, their true grit, true toughness, who they really can be. So you have kind of both ends of the spectrum there of being the pleaser and making sure that their experience is great and they're happy, but also, you know, pushing them to be their best version. So I love it. I think it's awesome for us when we get to see all of, you know, us out on the road and traveling. Nicole Fawcett is actually now the volunteer at Ohio State too. So she's, you know, done playing, I think, maybe, and trying to get into the coaching world now as well. So I think it's for sure a lineage, at least during my era, that, you know, a lot of us are still involved in the sport and wanting to be around it and wanting to give back.
Yeah, and that's so cool that you have, you know, people that you played with that you're now able to just, you know, just, I mean, obviously, I guess you're kind of against each other a lot of the time. Maybe you'll meet each other in tournaments or, you know, future games along the way, but having a little bit of camaraderie and a little rivalry of the schools that you're coaching, I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun too. The last question I wanted to ask, to deal with everything, kind of wrap up a little bit, is like, did you ever kind of get bored of winning? Like, you just kept winning. Like, did it ever get old?
No, because I think the sting of the defeats that we had never left me. I still remember, and it's so funny, like our head coach now at Dayton, he knows what matches were like memorable matches for me in terms of the ones that I lost, because he'll bring up something or somebody will mention something and I'm like, oh yeah, that weekend that, you know, we were up 2-0 to Purdue and we lost in 5, and then the next night lost to Indiana in 4. And it was like, I think Purdue, the first time in 26 years they had beaten us, and then Indiana, it was the first time in program history they had beaten us, and it was back-to-back nights. And we were in like 6th place in the Big Ten because of it, and 3-3 overall. And you know, those are the things that I remember, because as much as I love winning, I hate losing. Like, I remember the losses, both as a coach and as a player, and I'm like, all right, what could we have done different? What could we change? How can we turn that loss into a win? And for sure, I remember, you know, the last point on the national championships, and I remember celebrating those moments, but I have a way more vivid memory of the losses that I had, to where the winning, you know, really hasn't gotten old. I'm more driven by, you know, hating losing than I am by enjoying winning at this point. Or even, you know, when I was younger, I've always hated losing.
Well, Alyssa, thank you so much for joining us. That was a lot of information that you just gave us. And, you know, we really appreciate you taking some time out of your day. I know you're very busy at Dayton there, but thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. It was a lot of fun.
Good luck with the rest of your season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yep. And perfect timing now that we have Vinnie joining us. That was pretty awesome right there, Phil.
Being able to talk to someone who's almost a legend at this point in women's volleyball is just amazing. And it looks like Vinnie is here. I think you're muted. Can't hear you yet.
Oh, hey, how's it going, guys?
There you are,
Vinnie. It's good to have you on. How's everything going with you?
You know, it's doing great. We're just in the holiday spirit here in Nashville. You know, just getting ready for the holidays. It's kind of a fun time. So to a crazy year.
Yeah. I can't imagine. And let's hope we don't have another spring cut short of men's volleyball. That would not be good for Off the Block.
Yeah, I would have a lot more free time and be able to binge a lot more TV shows. That I was able to do. I was finally able to get to Schitt's Creek, but I think I've run through all the good ones now. So now I'm getting on my binge options. I'm like, maybe I should read a book. There's nothing left. I've hit the end of Netflix.
Yeah.
Well, Vinnie, we first want to start by thanking you for taking some time out of your day to join us. I know it's getting around the holiday season, so we appreciate you taking some time to talk with us.
Yeah, no problem.
So, Vinnie, you're coming up on 10 years now of Off the Block. I mean, that's pretty special right there.
Yeah, it's crazy, actually. Yeah, we got the big 10 years. Wow, that's nuts. I mean, we're officially now a tween. I mean, that is crazy. No, it's it's kind of funny that this was, something that we started in 2011, had no idea what it was going to become. And this thing has just grown beyond my wildest expectations. I mean, even my first post I think I ever did was, hey, not sure what this is going to be, but we're going to give it a shot. And, it's one of those things, it just speaks for everyone, no matter what your profession is. If you got an idea, go run with it and see what can happen. Good things can happen no matter what business or industry you're in.
Yeah. And I have to say, Vinnie, for someone who loves men's volleyball, but never had anywhere to follow it or anything like that. Like, I follow the NBA, like I follow all the people, Adrian Wojnarowski and all of them, to have something like that for men's volleyball. I remember entering college volleyball in 2014, and everyone was telling me, oh, well, go follow this page. It's got men's volleyball on it. And I was like, wait, just a page for men's volleyball? I was like, that's incredible. And then I started following it, and now you have quite the group with you to work on Off the Block. And I have to say, I love what you're doing. And as a volleyball player, I truly appreciate everything that you've done for the sport.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. And I know our guys, Jonathan Bates, Brandon Johnson, they appreciate that as well. Yeah. And, for us, we love hearing that. And we take a lot of pride in that, because, as you mentioned, there really wasn't a place before Off the Block where you get all this. So even, something as simple as, oh man, this is a great, Friday night of volleyball, I want to check out the matches. You would have to spend 45 minutes to an hour just trying to track down, a radio link for you to be able to follow something or find stuff. So the fact that we've been able to create that in one hub, and also, report on the news year round, because, it is nonstop volleyball happening with some of the news and notes that come out even in the off season. So thank you for that, Ben. I really appreciate that. That's really nice to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I was a part of the Grow the Game in Tennessee, and I remember thinking, I was like, damn, Vinnie's doing this by himself. I was like, this is incredible. And that was an awesome atmosphere.
Thank you.
There. And
I mean, it's also pretty awesome when you guys are knocking off USC as well. Let's be honest with that. In one weekend, you knock off the number 15 in the country, 15 team ranked in the country, and then USC, you just shellac them beyond belief. Like, that was just a crazy weekend for you guys as well.
I always walk. I'm an assistant now for Barton, and I still get to walk through the halls and in the gym, and I always see that wooden trophy that you had for us, and I look back and I'm like, man, that was an awesome weekend, and Vinnie put that on.
Well, thank you. Yeah, we have to give credit for that one with Cumberland University. They had just started a men's volleyball team, so they were really excited to host. But yeah, that was crazy. I think my wife looked at me at the end of the event and she's like, "Never again, Vinnie, never again. You're gonna have to be just because, as so much goes into it, and things that I didn't even know about, in terms of coordinating events and everything that goes into it." So yeah, but no, that was fun. And I think for me, I think the bigger thing on why I love doing this is I'm a big believer in the more that people can get exposed to men's volleyball, the more they're going to see it. They're going to be like, this is awesome. You got, players, diving into the stands to keep rallies alive. You got a ball going 70 miles an hour. And a lot of times people have just never been exposed to it. I mean, I was that way, when I went to Ball State University. I had never seen a men's volleyball match in person. I've heard that men play the sport, but, it was, I grew up in Texas, it was the kind of the, football for females, type thing. That was the big time sport in Texas. And then, you see that in person, like, this is awesome. Like, and then, one thing took off to another. I was a journalism major there at Ball State, was covering the team in college. And then afterwards, like you were saying, I kind of saw, man, there is no one doing this nationally. Let's see what can happen here. Let's give it a try.
Yeah. And on that point about how, I mean, you had never played really.
No,
growing
no.
up.
And I still can't, I cannot play at all. Actually, it's really sad. As part of the Grow the Game, in 2018, there was a boys club that started up after that tournament. They were like, man, this is great. Let's do it. So I was like, yeah, I'll come on out. You shag balls or something. I offered my services, and they're like, okay, Vinny, can you show this kid how to pass a ball? And I'm like, so you put your hands together? Like, yeah, it's one of these where, I never, played the sport. I joke that I'm very proud that I've been able to double my vertical from 2 to 4 inches. I'm very proud of that capability. But yeah, for me, it's always been the component of, being able to tell that story, of what's taking place and what's happening. And for me, that's something that I've enjoyed, and really learning a new game. For me, when I was 20, having no idea, how, what this was going on, you're still thinking, oh yeah, that's a spike, or yeah, that's a good bump. It's like, no. This is what it's called. It's called a pass. And, this is called a kill. So yeah, it's been kind of fun for me, even just as a natural learner, just being able to learn something that I've never played, and, kind of just learn the in and outs. And for me, I'm still, learning those in and outs sometimes, in terms of, offense, and, how you effectively run things. And that, for me, that's kind of exciting, getting to learn all that stuff.
Yeah. And no, go ahead, Phil.
Oh yeah. And I just wanted to follow up on that a little bit and just say, one of the big things Ben and I were talking about earlier was, when you want to grow a sport that's a smaller sport, the people that play it already understand what's going on. They're already going to be a fan of the sport. But when you really start to grow is when you have people that come from outside of the sport, and they're like, wow, that is awesome. And we just thought about how cool it was that you're doing that, and you're exposing more people to the sport that haven't grown. Like, Ben and I grew up with volleyballs in our hand. Ever since I was 10 and I was over at Ben's house hanging out, we were passing volleyballs back and forth, and we just knew we were going to play. But, so having people that didn't have that experience, that are now fans of the sport, it just gets me excited. And it shows that the sport I have passion for, maybe has a chance to kind of get big and popular.
Absolutely. And like I said, the more people see it, the more they're going to get into it. And, I also really want to credit, we kind of talked about this, the job that First Point Volleyball is doing, really making a commitment to grow the game in urban areas, and really expose, minorities to the game, because there's so many, as you guys know, you have to be a real athlete to play volleyball. And so many of the skills that, these kids are learning, whether it's in football or basketball, they're not, you can't, obviously transition day one, hit the court, you're going to be awesome. But a lot of those skills you learn, you can take and apply to volleyball. So so it's growing, and you see that the club, the high school level, and even the NCAA level, with the amount of teams that are continuing to add the sport.
Yeah, the First Point added the a whole conference for men's volleyball, and that's massive for growing the playoffs. Having whole conferences coming in here to finally grow the game at this level, because until something steady comes through, this is the highest level of volleyball that you're able to watch in America. And that's something that I don't think people quite understand. They're like, well, where do you go after school? Everyone has basketball, has the NBA, football has the NFL, even soccer has the MLS that you can go to. And I'm like, guys, it's overseas. You know, and you're probably not going to ever watch a game from overseas. You'll probably watch a game or two on the Olympics, and that's going to be your exposure. But it's something that I've always said that for men's volleyball to grow, it has to be visible. It has to be, you know, if someone's flipping through the channels, you got to go, oh, hey, there's a men's volleyball match, and you just see someone just demolish a ball. That's when you start to pick up some people and really start to do that. But yeah, I mean, that's something that you guys have been doing is, you know, you provide that link to a game or something, and people are like, oh, wait, I get to watch, I can just throw this game on real quick. Even if I'm watching 5 minutes, they get to digest some of men's volleyball.
Absolutely, and like I said, the more we can do to grow that game and promote, you know, the better it is for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because I try and keep up with stuff overseas. You know,
you're better than me. That is like insanely like I have people ask me, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like I'm on. You're going like some weird Russian website where you're hoping it's not spam, and it's nuts trying to keep up. You're a braver man than me.
Yeah, but it is nice, and I'll do a little bit of a shout out here that the Worsley brothers from Hawaii and Micah Ma do a podcast together, and they kind of show the world of men's volleyball overseas a little bit, and they were actually just talking about how someone broke the serving record for how fast they served a ball, and they served it 92 miles per hour.
Are you serious?
Yeah, there was, and I don't know, I didn't do enough research on the guy, but Ivan Zaitsev, who played for Italy's national team, previously held the mark at 83 miles per hour. So someone served it almost 10 miles per hour faster. And that's just something where you don't think about.
Right. And served it right into the net. No, I'm just kidding.
But you know, it's something that the American public doesn't see, where you're like, dude, that guy just served the ball as fast as a major league pitcher throws a ball. And that's incredible.
No, you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, because we don't have, you know, the pro leagues and, you know, college, unfortunately, the frame of reference that people have when they think of volleyball is, oh yeah, it's the picnic. And, you know, I mean, that's, you know, a question I'll get asked often. They're like, so do they rotate, and does everyone have their zones just like in pickup volleyball? Like, it's a little more complex than that. Like, but yeah.
Yeah. But, I mean, so for you way back then, how were you able to like digest that first match that you had to cover?
Yeah, it's crazy. So, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm going back way back. So we'll even go, you know, this is 2007. You know, I'm a sophomore at Ball State. I'm working for the student newspaper. Basically told, hey, you're going to cover the men's volleyball beat because they had no one else to do it. So I'm like, okay, you know, like I said, never seen them. I'd seen one men's volleyball match my freshman year. I go there, you know, to cover the match. I still remember is Ball State versus Clark University. You know, I had no idea what I was doing, to say the least. I was actually lucky in between sets. I get the box score. I'm looking at this like, okay, maybe this number's good. And luckily, one of my best friends, she played high school volleyball. So she kind of walked down to the front row of the stands and was like, okay, Vinny, here's some of the stats that you want to keep an eye on and everything. Here's what you want to focus on. I'm like, okay, this is starting to make sense. And then, you know, for me, it was also one of the things that helped me, though, that first season when I'm seeing this is, okay, I want to be able to cover the story so the person who was there can learn something, but also how can I cover this so the person who wasn't there, probably would have no desire to come, could, you know, be interested in this, and, you know, they would find it interesting. That was always my big thing, you know, when covering it was, okay, what can I do to elevate the story so it's just going beyond rehashing, you know, the box score? How can I provide new insights so people are gaining information, even if they attend the match, so they're learning something the next day when they pick up and read my story. So for me, that was always kind of the fun challenge, you know, when I'm doing this of, okay, I got this sport, you know, that, you know, in Ball State, you know, we have a really great fan base in terms of, it's one of the most popular sports on campus because truthfully, I can say this as an alumni, Ball State sucks at pretty much every sport around. We're used to it. We're used to being the punchline. But with men's volleyball, it's one of those where you see the banners and it's like they've been in the NCAA tournament 20 plus times. Oh my goodness. They're kind of the birthplace of men's volleyball in the Midwest. So that also for me was an exciting thing to kind of get to tell that story. And from there, it was just, being able to figure out what would be of interest to people and how I can convey to everyone, hey, this sport's awesome. Here's why you should check it out. There's some interesting stuff. Even if you don't like sports, there's interesting things happening on this team with these personalities that we had, And that's, I think, the other great thing about men's volleyball is there are so many great personalities in the game. Every year in college men's volleyball, you have so many fantastic kids and with great stories, great personalities. And it's tough to cover all of it because there's just so many wonderful ones. So for me, that's always kind of the fun thing that I even love doing with Off the Block. Whether it's, post-match interviews and everything. Okay, how can we provide information to the diehard Rapid fan base, more information than they got watching the stream of the match that they have likely already rewatched again and have their own critiques on the match as well that they've already posted on Volley Talk and are now in a full troll on debate with someone over something on there.
Yeah, and you'll have to keep a little closer look at Ball State this year with one of my teammates and someone who filled in an article about Agalos Mandalaris is now on that team.
Right. And I'll tell you, that's a big pickup for them. I think on so many levels, because you look historically with Ball State, that's always kind of been the big question mark for them. Okay, their blocking game's going to be strong. Defensively, they're going to be good, but can you have that guy when the score is 23-22 who's going to be able to get a kill on a double triple block? And you know this because you played with him. He has that capabilities. I think also kind of broader picture as well. You kind of look at it, and I still think that there's the purest volleyball people who are like, oh, it's the Conference Carolinas. It's not one of the big threes. Can these players really hang with the MIVA schools or the MPSF schools? And you got Andres Mandalares, who now everyone gets to see this, well, what would happen if you took a Conference Carolina player and plopped them in the MIVA? I think what people are going to realize is he's still going to put up really good numbers. Now, is it going to be 5 kills a game? That may be a little tough, but he's going to still get you 3.5 to 4 kills a game and probably still at 300 and probably still be averaging, a couple aces per game.
Yeah. And honestly, throughout my time playing with Agalos, his best games were against the Division I talent, whether it was BYU or USC or Grand Canyon or even Lewis and Loyola last year. He was one who stepped up and he showed everyone out there that he was going to go out there and dominate you. It didn't matter who was going to be in front of him trying to block him.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. And it's going to be good because, also with Ball State, not to get too Ball State centric, but, they're, I think, going to have a puncher's chance this year in the MIVA when you talk about, Caleb Jennis, the job that he's done on the pin as well. Quinn Isaacson is returning, another setter, veteran setter. And really, when we talk about the long layoffs and everything with volleyball, talking to some coaches, that's probably going to be one of the biggest keys is having a good veteran setter this year because everyone's timing is just going to be so off because they just haven't been able to get to the gym. So having a steady setter like Ball State's going to have, that's going to help them down the road.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like there's a lot of teams that are going to have veteran leadership this season. So I honestly feel like since there are basically, 5 classes worth of players on these teams, do you think this season's going to be maybe once the rust gets shaken off, maybe it's going to be even more competitive because there's just, extra players, extra top players that either stuck around or are coming through that are ready to compete?
Oh, absolutely. And look, I would fully expect the first weeks are going to be some ugly volleyball.
Yeah.
I think we all just need to accept that. We should all just be excited that volleyball is back. But no, you're exactly right. Once that rust is off, I mean, look at what we were getting in March. BYU, Hawaii. For all intents and purposes, that was the national championship game. In March that they were playing. That was some high-end epic volleyball. You got teams like UC Santa Barbara that is such a good passing team. They're able to stay in system so often. And then, we talked about Ball State and the MIVA. The team they're chasing is Lewis, and they are really good. You talk about Ryan Cohen, just the craziness of COVID. He's a chance to be a 5-time All-American. I mean, just an absurd stat that will hopefully never happen again. But there's going to be a lot of depth this year, across the board. And you kind of start talking about your tiers. I mean, we talk about those 4 schools. I think that you can make a legitimate case. BYU, Hawaii are the clear favorites, but UC Santa Barbara, Long Beach, both those teams feel like they are capable of winning an NCAA championship, and they have good reason to. I mean, once again, Loyola, you talk, or not Loyola, Lewis, you talk about those middles, especially Tyler Mitchum, what he's able to do. TJ Murray. I mean, this is a strong, good team. So yeah, it's going to be some really good volleyball, especially towards the end of the season. And I think the other thing that's going to make things even more interesting is we're not really going to be able to see the non-conference matches like we usually have had in the past, where you kind of are able to get that good sense early on of, okay, this conference is down, this conference is up. Just because you're not going to have a lot of travel, we're not going to know until the NCAA tournament, really, when we start seeing these heavy hitting teams go against each other. So you have a really good chance of every single one of these of there being no clear favorite going in the NCAA tournament right now, which I love. That's, for me, that's the thing that always excites me, as opposed to some years where it's, all right, we're just playing these games because we have to. We all know this team's going to win it, but okay. But yeah, this is going to be an exciting year of volleyball without a doubt.
Yeah, I had to play libero against Lewis. They're massive and they hit very hard.
Yes.
They're going to. I think Lewis could be right up there with a Hawaii, a Long Beach, a BYU, so any one of those teams. I think this is going to be a toss-up here for sure, because it's also that these conferences aren't getting that experience of that out-of-conference games. Everyone's preparing so much for, they know what they're going to get in conference. They know the players already, outside of a freshman or something. And honestly, I think that hurts the Conference Carolinas the most, because, Conference Carolinas teams are so used to going and playing this outside competition and really improving by playing them throughout January, February, March. And then by the time April comes around and you have your conference tournament and everything, they're like, okay, either we beat some Division I teams or we were hanging with some Division I teams. And this year, with a lot of only conference games, it's going to be something where the Conference Carolinas is not going to be exposed to that level of play like it has in the past.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And majority of the Conference Carolina schedules have come out. We're still waiting on a few, including Barton. And, really the only team that's traveling outside of that southeast corridor is going to be King. King's going up to play Penn State and St. Francis on the road. I mean, Penn State's, the bigger one in that matchup. But yeah, and I understand it also from a school perspective. You kind of look at it, okay, schools have taken a financial hit. You have to reduce travel. You got, a team like Tusculum or, Queens that's right in your backyard. It's like, okay, let's schedule, a non-conference match against them and, save our, maybe do a Midwest trip in 2022 as opposed to 2021 when things get a little bit more financially stable. So yeah, you're exactly right. That could be a big factor for the Conference Carolinas, as we start moving into the end of the regular season.
So yeah, Vinny, but we want to thank you so much for joining us today, taking some time out of your busy life.
Yeah, no problem.
That was some great volleyball information that we just got there, and it was a pleasure to have someone as esteemed in the volleyball community as you.
No problem. Well, anytime, guys. Thank you, and thank you for all the great work that you guys are doing. So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great Christmas.
You too, Vinny. We'll talk to you later.
Talk to you.
Bye.
Well, Phil, that was quite the volleyball day for us.
We had some giants really of the volleyball world.
Yeah.
Thankful to be able to talk to them. It's nice having some volleyball content out there. And yeah, I mean you get to hear about like just how much of a winner Alyssa is, and like her whole journey, and her all the things that she's learned and what she's passing on now to the kids that she's coaching. And then Vinny's journey is just someone who didn't even know what the heck volleyball was, and turning it basically into his life's work. And it's just awesome. We have people like this in our community. Tolly didn't join us because he just he doesn't understand it, I guess.
No, but yeah, I mean, hearing Alyssa talking about that, like almost like kind of shying away from like the Penn State legacy that she like helped build. I mean, that's the kind of thing that you don't see too often. I think when we think of the biggest winners at the biggest stages, they accept everything that comes along with that. And for Alyssa to push that away, I mean, that shows you how much of a pro she is, and how much like she was more proud of the work that went into it, more so than the actual like rings and all of the stuff that comes along with winning. But with Vinny, it is funny, and I saw him try and serve a ball one time, and yeah, he's not a volleyball player, but boy, am I glad that he's on our side.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have people of all sorts of abilities, right? Like not everybody that touches a volleyball is a great writer or a great storyteller. Not everybody can turn a match recap into a must-read article. And so having people like that in the volleyball corner is also crucial, because the players are always gonna be great players, but the way that the game's gonna grow is that we've always had the great players, but how do we tell stories that make these great players interesting to people that maybe don't know much about volleyball? And that's where someone like Vinny is crucial to the volleyball community. And it's so nice to have someone like him too.
Yeah, and I hope that he is able to continue to provide that for us, or at least I think it's good that he has other people kind of taking some of that burden off of him now, so he doesn't get burned out doing all of this. But that's something that I think is really special to our community, and hopefully, he's done 10 years now. Let's hope there's another 10 years in store for that.
Yeah, fingers crossed, man. Hopefully there's another 50 years or however long we can go with it.
But let's transition a little bit. We're going to take a couple minutes here and kind of recap some of the storylines from the NFL and NBA. So Phil, preseason basketball is already here, when it feels like we just ended the finals not too long ago.
Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to have basketball back. Don't get me wrong, but it is kind of surreal after how quickly they turned around and started having basketball again. I wouldn't have thought it would be within 2 months that we'd see everyone back on the court again. You have guys like Talon Horton Tucker who are coming out of nowhere. I mean, he didn't even touch the floor in the playoffs last year, and now he dropped 35, almost a triple double in the Lakers preseason game. So that's a little worrying if you're a fan of anyone besides the Lakers, because it looks like they may have just picked up another diamond in the rough, a second round pick that's doing well. The Celtics and Sixers game was a pretty good heavy hitting matchup last night. It looks like teams are kind of taking this preseason seriously too.
Oh, I think they have to. There's no summer league to try and find out which players are going to be like trying to make the G League games or anything like that. So they really have to get this serious. And to add on to that, there's quite a few stars who are coming off of some major injuries that made their appearance, and I think they have to take it seriously. Kevin Durant, John Wall, and DeMarcus Cousins all making their first appearances with their new teams. They have to do that to try and shake off all the rust of, almost a couple years off of basketball.
Yeah, it seriously felt like a couple of years, especially for DeMarcus Cousins. I mean, he came back for like 5 games or something, and it was out again. I saw Gordon Hayward broke his pinky, I believe, so he's out another 8 weeks. So that guy can't catch a break with anything, and he just signed, that big contract to move to Charlotte.
Yeah, that's rough, but that may see LaMelo Ball get some more playing time in Charlotte than he would have previously.
Yeah, and I think it's funny Michael Jordan drafted one of LeVar Ball's kids, but from everything I've seen, LaMelo seems to have a good head on his shoulders, and he should be an exciting player to watch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see him moving forward. You definitely saw some of the cockiness that he has evident when he knocked down a 3 and he turned around to the opposing team's bench and just kind of stared them down, and I was like, but I don't know if you want to do that. You're like a stick, and these guys are massive. Like, imagine doing that to the Pelicans and you have like Steven Adams and Zion on that team. He's not going to make it too far through that game without getting a hard pick set on him.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't take long for him to learn his lesson. I feel like everyone's kind of taking it easy on each other during the preseason, don't want any injuries or anything to happen. But if he starts doing that during the regular season or the playoffs, that he'll probably only do it one more time.
Yeah, but another piece of big news, which could lead into some even bigger news, is Giannis signing his 5-year, $228 million supermax deal with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah. I'm curious to see, he could be the first player to sign, I think, 2 supermax deals if he ends up staying again at Milwaukee. I believe that he'll be there till he's about 30, 31 years old. Mm-hmm. So he'll still kind of be maybe in the tail end of his prime after this contract expires. So he's still leaving himself room if he decides he ever does want to move away from Milwaukee. But I think it says a lot about Milwaukee. They want to win. They want to keep their star. So now you've locked down your star officially for the next few years. He needs another piece, right? He needs another piece in order for them to win. I'm curious to see what the Bucks do if they get someone now, if they wait until next offseason to try and get someone, because these are not years you want to waste, right? Giannis he's a special talent, and if he just gets one more superstar with him, someone that could shoot, spread the floor a little bit, I really see him doing well.
And I think with them losing out on the whole Bogdanovich situation, they're going to be pretty desperate going into the trade deadline, and I think they're going to be really active in the buyout market. So I think DeMar DeRozan may be moving this year, and that might be a possible destination for him to go to the Milwaukee Bucks. Is it a great fit? No, not really, but they're going to be desperate to try and get someone, and they're going to be willing to pay a king's ransom for it, which San Antonio needs desperately.
Yeah, and on top of that, just seeing how he interacts with another high-level star, because we haven't really seen him with with another star. I mean, you could say Chris Middleton, but I don't think Chris Middleton's up to the level of DeMar DeRozan, at least at their primes. And it would be good to see, you know, how Giannis does, maybe if he's not able to handle the ball as much, if he's, you know, taking a different role on offense. So it could be good, even if it's not a permanent fix, to kind of get an idea of how it's going to work, or what kind of player, if it's not DeRozan or if it's not, you know, whoever, that they should go for instead. And then, you know, it'll be good for experimentation, at least, if they did a move like that.
Yeah, but I think the big thing that you're going to see coming out of this is a lot of teams were waiting to see if Giannis was going to sign a supermax deal before trying to go for James Harden. And I think now you're going to see some of those dialogues that teams had opened up with the Rockets really start to heat up. And I think particularly in terms of actually heat, I think the Miami Heat are going to really try and put something together to get James Harden, to get that third superstar. And the Miami Heat have enough depth and young players and assets to get this done. You know, there was a mock draft or a mock trade with the main pieces being Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Kelly Olynyk, Andre Iguodala, and Precious Achiuwa, along with 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's a little bit of a high price. I don't think I want to give up Precious Achiuwa. I wouldn't mind Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn, along with other pieces, maybe another first-round pick for him. But, you know, I think the Heat have to kind of learn from the past when they got the original big 3, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron. They gutted their team, and they did not, that first year, they did not have the bench support or even the other 2 positional support to take them to the championship. Well, win the championship.
Yeah. It's hard to tell what James Harden's worth right now, too. His attitude's been questioned, which, I mean, listen, the guy can do whatever he wants, right? You know, he's an adult. He can brand himself however he wants. He can carry himself however he wants. But I mean, there are repercussions to not showing up to training camp, to seemingly not caring, demanding trades, demanding your team trades away your other players. There are repercussions to that, and you wonder culturally what kind of a fit James Harden's going to be at any team he plays at. Miami seems to have a pretty good culture right now. And they would have to really weigh on whether or not it's worth it to bring James Harden in, or whether or not they can get him on board to see their vision. But they were a finals team last year, so it shouldn't be a hard sell.
No, it shouldn't be a hard sell. And I think that's something with the lack of structure with the Rockets. You know, they lost Daryl Morey left, Mike D'Antoni left, and he's kind of had a carousel of coaches in his time at Houston, along with a carousel of other stars. So I don't like seeing him coming in chubby. He lost all that weight coming into the bubble. Then he came back, and I think he's trying to tell them, yeah, I don't want to be here. You can tell by my gut that I don't want to be here. But I think Pat Riley, Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler would be able to get him on board very quickly.
I mean, if you see winning, if you start to see wins, if you start to see that championship kind of become a realistic possibility, I feel like you can convince even some of the people who have an attitude like Harden to get on board, because if you're going to win a championship, you're probably going to work harder. You're probably willing to work harder if you feel like you're definitely going to win, because he doesn't feel like he's going to win in Houston.
No.
That's just how it is. I mean, he's made that obvious.
Yeah. But well, let's just talk a little bit about the NFL, just touch on a little bit of those stories. Steelers lose again. They now two losses in a row. I think something, and you and I have talked a little bit about this with the way that injuries have been severely hindering their potential. And teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, who have been relatively unscathed by everything going on right now, are continuing to thrive through it. And they still look like they're going to win another Super Bowl and probably be the next Patriots for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, you look at their team, they're ridiculous, right? They've got talent. They've got like all pro talent at almost every position on offense, and their defense doesn't really have any slackers either. So you're looking at a team that, I mean, they were overwhelming favorites for the Super Bowl last year, and I mean, they won, and it wasn't really even in question.
And I don't think anyone coming out of the NFC is even going to pose a little bit of a threat to them when it comes to the Super Bowl.
The NFC's weak this year. At least, I mean, that's what it seems like to me. I mean, you've got a division that's all under 500. You've got, the Seahawks look strong at the beginning. They don't look that great. Green Bay doesn't. I'm not sold on Green Bay. I'm not sold on the Saints. The Buccaneers have been so up and down, like, because when they're up, Brady plays well, but then there'll be games where they are just getting stomped as well. It just doesn't feel like the NFC's got anyone really that's going to touch the Chiefs or even touch the Steelers. The Ravens are pretty decent still. Like, I would have a lot more faith, the Bills too, in picking some, like, maybe 4 or 5 AFC teams that I would make a favorite over any NFC team right now.
Yeah, because when you look at these, when you talk about every single one of those AFC teams, they have a complete team. They might have a flaw here and there. The Bills don't have, they're a little on both offense and defense at times, but when they have it all together, they are a very dangerous team. The Green Bay's defense is atrocious. Yeah. Seattle's defense is atrocious. The Saints, I don't trust their quarterback situation. Like, I don't trust Taysom Hill or Drew Brees at this point in his career. And then I don't like the fit with Bruce Arians and Tom Brady. I think it's good to get Tom Brady out of his comfort zone of the dink and dunk that he was doing all those years in New England, but he's also setting career high in interceptions. And it's just something seems off there. They seem like they're the best team to possibly beat an AFC team in the Super Bowl, but I also could see 2 or 3 teams in the NFC knocking them out in the early rounds.
Well, they've just had such abysmal down games that you can't put that much faith in the Patriots right now. I mean, I want to say they lost by like 38 or something to the Saints earlier this season.
They did.
I think it was 38. I know it was almost 40 that they just got absolutely stomped. And you look at a team and you're like, how many Super Bowl contenders have lost a game by 40 in the season where they go on to win the Super Bowl? And there can't be many.
No.
The other team, I was thinking maybe the Rams.
I actually was going to take a hot take and say that the Rams are going to be the number 1 seed coming out of for the playoffs, because I think the Saints, Green Bay, and the Bucs all lose another game before the end of the season. And I think the Rams might be a together enough team that they might be able to, ink out a first place standing in the conference.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to quickly mention is Derrick Henry's got 3 games, and he's, I think, something like 480 yards from 2,000. So he's got
yeah, I am really happy I drafted him on my fantasy team. He is carrying it because
Yeah.
he had another 200-yard, 2-touchdown game, and I think that puts him in the likes of LaDainian Tomlinson, Barry Sanders, like Emmitt Smith, with how many of those he has had now, which, you know, is the upper echelon of running backs in the history of the league.
I mean, he's, if his next game he can hit 200 again, he'll be within setting the new record as a possibility. But, you know, it's hard to rush for 200 yards in a game.
Yeah.
But I mean, he does it. He does it almost week in and week out. He puts up crazy numbers. So
yeah, not every team.
He's just been.
Not every team is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars, though.
Right. I did look at the rest of their schedule, and I don't exactly remember who the teams are, but all 3 of them are in the bottom 5 in their conference in rushing defense. So he does have a chance to do a little something. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm sure they're gonna load up the box though.
Yeah, I'm gonna give a little bit of a premature congratulations to Derrick Henry for breaking the record. I'm just saying it now because I have confidence, and I hope for my sake on my fantasy team that he is able to do that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm in the heart of Titans fandom down here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So, you know, I get to hear all about it all day from my sports guys. But
yeah. Well, Phil, I think that was a good day of sports. Great day of volleyball. That's going to be one that I even go back and watch for years to come with that level of volleyball knowledge and know-how there. So everyone, make sure that you smash that like button, subscribe, and leave in the comments if you want any of this merch, which I finally sent to Phil.
Hey.
So you will be seeing all members of All Sports BPT now rocking the nice black t-shirt. So until next time, guys, we will talk to you later.
See ya.